Because the questions that I would have are more or less on why should, like for instance, when it comes to because what I'm interested in right now
Yeah.
is I was really looking for temporary life insurance, but when I spoke to Kalicia, she told me that there are better alternatives. I personally didn't agree, but maybe there are things out there that I just don't know. So before asking any questions, I'd actually like to see those numbers as well as when we were talking earlier, we spoke about the long-term disability, right? Right now, I have that with my current employer, but I do agree that if something happened and I had to leave or they fired me, who knows? I would no longer have that benefit. So I'd want to discuss that as well. But correct me if I'm wrong. I was under the impression that before I could actually get those numbers, I'd actually have to do a physical and things of that nature just to see where my health lies so that you'd be able to tell me what my rate would
I can give you a ballpark.
Okay.
Because you're young. It's not like you're 65 years old and some complication might come up. If based on my conversation with you, you're telling me that you're pretty healthy, then you should be fine. If obviously you have blood pressure, you have diabetes, then those numbers might change. But if you're pretty normal, what I'm showing you will be very close. I can't guarantee you anything, obviously. I'm not the underwriter, but I can get you close. Okay.
Okay.
So the idea with that is I'm 37 years old. This account, I literally just turned 30. So the idea of doing this account is even before I had kids is basically having a tax-free account. Okay. Because all the account that we set up, IRAs or 401k, they're all taxable accounts, right? So this is an opportunity for you to do a tax-free account. Some people say, why don't you do Roth IRA? For two reasons, the Roth IRA is not better. The first reason is the Roth IRA is still in the market. So if the market goes down, you will go down. And the second reason is you can only put $6,000 a year in a Roth IRA. Does that make sense? So that was the two main reasons. So if somebody want to have an unlimited account that they can invest into, for example, it will be the IUL, right? So that's the example, the one with Nationwide. So what are the benefits that someone is getting when they do it? The first thing they get is the income tax free death benefit, which is obviously pretty normal. The other thing they get is a tax-free cash value accumulation. So obviously at that point, all your money will be growing tax-free, which I'll show you what your numbers look like personally, right? And the other thing is, if you're a business, if you're a business owner or you're looking for opportunity, you can actually take out of the money out of your account as a loan, right? Or you can take it as a withdrawal. So you have the option. So I'll give you a perfect example of my situation. So when I got my car last year, I didn't go to the bank and get a loan, right? I got a loan from myself, and then I paid the monthly payment back to myself. That makes sense? Versus going to the bank, they charge me an interest, I pay it back to myself, and the account is earning interest, right? So that's what I was able to do. Another thing is 401k, they have the 59.5 rule. In this account, if structured properly, pretty fast, you have access to it, which I'm going to show what the numbers are. And there's no taxes when you move the funds from one to the other because everything is tax exempt. So everything you put out in the account already been taxed, come out from your paycheck. Everything you pull out will be 100% tax-free, okay? So any question about that, and I'm going to go ahead and show you your exact numbers and how your numbers will look.
One more time. What you just showed me with the retirement, the only difference between that and a Roth account is the fact that there is no limit on what you can put in, and then there isn't the
market risk.
Okay. And that's the only two difference. And then, of course, I think that
there's many differences. There's the 59.5 rule, and also in the account, there's no living benefits, there's no death benefit, there's none of that stuff. So if you have a Roth IRA and somebody passed away, they will only get whatever the balance was, 5,000, 6,000, 12,000, whatever it is. But and you'll see what it will be in your situation, right? It's not even close. There's really no comparison when you dive into it. But this is an example of your numbers. Let's say you say, you know what? There's no limit on this account. You can do 100,000, 300,000 a year. There's no limit. That's what we call the rich man's Roth, right? So this is your example based on you right now. So the first thing you get right away is a protection of 750,000 that they give you. But there's something we call the last column is what your family will get in case something happens. The column before that is what we call cash surrender value, right? So cash surrender value means this is money you have access to penalty-free, tax-free. Okay? So for example, year 5, you have 104,000, but you have access to 88,000. Okay? This is full access. And then now, by the time you reach age 65, which is retirement age, you will stop paying completely. Okay? At that point, how much money that you put into the account? At that point, you put in 660,000, but you have 2 million first year return. Here's the difference. For someone that has $2 million in a Roth IRA, not a Roth, IRA or 401k, they max funded 19,500, and they're doing that, this is going to be fully taxable. In this account, the whole thing is tax free. Okay, and here's another advantage. I can, because I'm not participating in the market risk, I can say, you know what, I'm going to be taking out $200,000 a year, and I'm not going to even touch my principal, because even though I'm not paying anymore, 000, I'm not paying anymore, the money will continue to grow. It will continue to grow every year. So I can use that as an income, 150,000 a year. I'm taking out of it and potentially not even touching my principal, tax free. If I have anything in the market, like a mutual fund or whatever it is, by the time in the market will wipe me out.
Okay, quick question. So I'm looking at these numbers right now, right?
Yeah.
And I would say that it seems like, well, for what is the interest rate that it's actually being calculated for these?
They calculate about 7.10%. So we don't exaggerate things, right? It's doing about 7.10%. Okay.
But if I were to, let's say if I were to actually join and obtain this service here, these are the numbers that I would actually get, right? Like this is a fixed number. This is in 5 years, the numbers you just showed me, those are exactly what.
Okay, let me be clear on that. This is not a guarantee. Okay. Here's what's guaranteed. What's guaranteed is you'll never lose money. But in terms of what the market does, obviously no one can predict that. I'm gonna show you the exact year to year what they've been doing, so you know what you have in mind. So this is just an average. This is what.
Because this is where I'm at right now. Because I'm looking at this, right? But and I understand what you're saying. Where with the market, it you could go up, it could go down. You really don't know where it's gonna go. But 20,000, right?
Yeah.
For instance, if I were to save right now $700, right? If I were to invest $700 starting at age 32, by the time I hit 65, of course, as I would get older, I would have to be more conservative with my numbers. So I wouldn't be able to be as risky. I'd still have the money invested in the stock market, but I'd start to, once I start to get older, I start to pick items that aren't as risky just to make sure that I'm being more conservative so that the money is still there when I'm ready to retire. Yeah. But if I was to save $700, oh, sorry about that. Just got a new phone that's going crazy. Okay, but if I were to save $700, I'm sorry, hold on, let me make sure I mute my phone. Okay, if I were to save $700 a month from 32 to age 65, that would also be $2 million. Yeah. But then in this scenario, we're saving 20,000, but then at the end we have the 2 million. In that aspect, why wouldn't I just take the 20,000 and put that in the stock market? And then
is why you don't do that, okay? Because I've studied all the different investment vehicles. Here's the thing: if I invest in stocks or I invest in a tax deferred account, the tax consequences come into play. If I have a stocks or a mutual fund, I have to pay taxes every year on the growth.
Matter of fact, sorry, let me add myself to the mix, because really what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to see what's the best for me. So. The 20,000 that I told you that I save a year, I save that in a 401k that's a Roth. So I've already paid the taxes up front, and then at the end of it, I know that it's going to grow tax free for that time period. And granted, I understand that this isn't something that I could say that I'm going to do for the rest of my life, because for all I know, I might quit my job next year. I might, but I do have, well, matter of fact, no, because even if I did quit my job, as long as my new job provided that Roth option, I could continue to save that $20,000. So in that aspect, it seems like something is off, because the numbers and knowing that this is the market
is something I'm going to show you, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a numbers guy. Okay, it's something I'm going to show you.
Mm-hmm.
When you go in the market and you talk to an advisor, money manager, what they will tell you is they'll tell you the average 10% or 12%, whatever they say the average. Okay, but here's the reality. They tell you the average rate, but not the actual rate. This is what I mean by that. If you have $100 and the market goes up 50%, how much money you have?
Yeah, 150.
150. So now let's say now the market goes down by the exact amount that it went back up. So it went down 50%. How much money you have now?
You're at 50.
No, you have 75.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, you're at 75. Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing. The market went up 50 and it went down 50. What was your average? Your average was 0. So you still should have the $100, but that's not what happened. You actually lost 25% of your money, right? Here's the reality. Those are real numbers that you're looking at right now. Of the Euro stocks, the Hang Seng, which is the Asian market, and the S&P 500. Those are like exact what happened, okay, on a year-to-year basis. And what the credited amount of the strategy that we have does. So this is the example. S&P, all the 12% they're promising people, they did 7.38% in that 20-year span. This is facts. And this is where most people invest. S&P 500 index did 7.38%. Okay, that's what they did. The Euro stocks, which is the European market, they didn't even do 1% in that 20-year span. Because you have to understand, if I'm going up and I'm going down, you're gonna lose the average. Do you know last year, like everybody was at like zero, whatever gain we got for the last 8 years, we were like literally back at even. But most,
real quick,
yeah, go ahead.
Because I see what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
More or less, when I invest money, right? Well, right now I'm 32, so I'm not really worried about dying tomorrow, to be honest with you.
No, I'm not about dying.
No, but I'm exaggerating. But like, so what I typically do is I try to follow the S&P 500, right? Yeah. So like, I haven't crunched these numbers to know if they're 100% right, but I'll assume that.
No, it's right. We can't put something in illustration that it's.
No. So here's the thing, right?
Yeah.
If we were to compare the S&P, right? So we're going to compare the S&P 500 and the numbers all the way to the right. Those are your organization's numbers, right? Transamerica's numbers, right?
Yeah. Not Transamerica's number. This is a strategy.
Okay, sorry, apologies. Yeah. So this is the thing, though. Even if these numbers are correct, right? Which we'll say that they are, right? Yeah. I still feel like there's still a bit of, okay, like for instance, the numbers that you're presenting me, they are higher, okay? So they're higher by 1.6. Yeah. But we also have to keep in mind that in 2008 is when the recession hit. And like, if you look at the S&P 500, it drops it by negative 38 points. Yeah. So in that aspect, had we removed just that year, things would have been way higher than what your organization.
But that's the point, though. That's the point. Because there's always gonna be those big drop offs. That's what you have to understand. And
this is my thing, though, right? So the strategy that most people would use would be something along the lines of course, if you're younger, you're gonna be way more risky because you have the time to make up. You know what I'm saying? You have that time.
Why would you want to do that, though? That's my point. Like, I was younger than you when I got started. Mm-hmm. Why would I want to risk my money and lose? Because here's the thing. Let me kind of give you an idea. Mm-hmm. But people who had 401ks that were close to their retirement or even before, let's say somebody lost $40,000. Just an example. I lost 40,000, no big deal. I'm going to recover from it. But here's the reality.
Mm-hmm.
You can lose 40,000. If I'm 30, let's say I'm 35 years old and I lose 40,000, I didn't lose 40,000. I'll lose what $40,000 could be if you were still in the market.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about recovering. It's not about recovering. It's maintaining what you have and compound on it. We're talking about compounding growth. But if you're losing, there's not really a real compounding at that point. Let me explain to what I mean. Have you heard of Rule 72? Have you heard of the Rule 72 before?
Yes, you times it by 72 to see how long it would take for the money to double.
So if I'm getting 10%, just hypothetically, someone getting 10%, I mean your money will be doubling every 7 years. So that 40,000, let's say I'm 40 years old, when I'm going to be 47, that 40,000 is going to be 80,000. When I'm 50, 54, the 80,000 will be 160, and then you're going to be 320, and then you're going to be 640. Like just 5 times is literally going to be $1.2 million. That just that $40,000 that I lost, and that's not even counting the fees.
No, I agree with you. But the way that I'm thinking right now is, for instance, you're showing us these numbers, right? Yeah, but if we looked at a chart to see what the S&P 500 was doing, we would see it going up and down, but it would be going up at an angle. So it's going up and down, but if I drew a line going through it, I'd see that it's still raising. So I kind of feel like, okay, granted, you're right. I could do something safer, right? And know that my money is going to be, it's guaranteed. My money's, well, nothing's a guarantee, but this is something that's shown to have better performance over these last 20 years, right? But at the same time, I could also invest it. And granted, maybe I could potentially lose some money, but the same way that I could potentially lose some money, I could potentially make more money as well. It's just because we don't know what's going to happen. So it's like, if the difference between the last 20 years was 1.6%, which don't get me wrong, 1.6% is a lot, depending on how much money you have.
I'm not telling you a percent. By the way, I'm not even talking about percentage. Like, if I'm not even talking about 7% versus 8.92%. That's not even my point. My point is taxes. Your number one enemy for your retirement is market risk and taxes.
No, but keep in mind that, like, for me, I'm everything that I do is Roth. So that's why I try to remove the taxes from it, just because I've already paid the taxes up front. So, I mean, you know what I mean? So I'm not really looking at that. But okay, we could keep going though. You got some good points.
So your number one enemy is taxes. Second enemy is market risk, obviously, because if you look at the market and look at what the market has done, every somewhere 8 to 12 years, there's a big market correction, and no one can predict them. Okay, people can say, "Oh, I knew it." No one can predict those things. But if I can put my money somewhere, then I know. By the way, it's in the same market, the same S&P 500. It's in that. So it's not like it's in a different market. We don't know what the market does. It's in the S&P 500 as well, which is a global index. So it follows what the market does. So if I can get that growth, let's say it did exactly what the S&P did, but without the losses, I won.
Real quick question. So the money, with the strategy that your organization is taking, they're also investing the money. It's just showing that over the last 20 years, their bet has been better than any traditional route of doing it.
With the guarantee floor. So they have, full disclosure, the guarantee minimum is 0.75. What does that mean? Anytime the market do negative, like in the 2002, did negative 23, what did you get?
Okay, we got the 75.
But if the market goes above the 15, you get the 15. So with that average, they got 8.92%. Does that make sense? So you have a floor and you have a cap. Okay? With the floor and the cap. That's why I can guarantee you'll never go lower than 0.75, but the upside will depend on the market. S&P, what the S&P does and what the Euro stocks and anything does, that's what will determine your growth, basically.
Okay, so pretty much they're still investing the money in the marketplace, but what they're doing is they're just investing the money more conservatively. So those high points, as I'm looking at it now, you won't really hit those high points of like for instance, in 2013, the market hit 29%, but you guys were at 15%. You won't hit those high points, but at the same time, which is, I guess, isn't that great? But the good thing about it is you're not ever going to get into those low points like in 2008 or 2002 when the market really dipped into the negatives. You won't go past 0.75%.
Exactly, because in an average, when you start seeing every time there's a negative, you're getting 0.75, 0.75, 0.75, 0.75, 0.75, that add up, man. Like those 0.75% when there's a loss, you did not experience any loss. You gain 0.75%. Now, I have the account, so I know. Like I've been watching it. I mean, it's the growth is just way. You end up being way better than that moving forward. And also, you look at the access point. Like if you have an emergency in your account, and I depend what account you're doing, right? I don't know what other account you're doing, but you also like as the year goes by here, this is full access money. This is like having money in a saving account. Whatever you see in this account, in this column right here, is money you have access to. So first year you have 2,000, 21,000. This is tax-free, penalty-free, nothing. So everything you see here is full access. Everything, the whole deal.
Okay.
Taxes, you don't. There's no taxes on the growth. There's none of. You just take a withdrawal or loan, and everything you pull out of the account is tax-free.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's okay? The death benefit is what your family gets. What's the policy value?
The policy, good question. The policy value is what you have. The surrender value is what you have access to. So, for example, year 5, you have 104,000, but you have access to 88,000 tax-free, penalty-free.
Okay, so the cumulative premium, that's pretty much what you're putting in. Policy value is what you put in, and you're including the interest, and then you still have the cash value after that, and then the death benefit. Okay.
Exactly. So that's why at the end of the process, you end up putting, that's your total cumulative value you end up putting at that point. You never pay anything anymore, 0, 0, 0. And at that point, your surrender value will be $2 million.
Okay.
Yeah. But basically, I put like that $1.4 million give or take of growth is the one that will be tax free at that point. You take it on the drawing alone.
Okay, I'm tracking that.
Yeah. And then the good thing about it, even though you're not paying for it anymore, but basically your cash value pay for your life insurance, this life insurance will go all the way to age 121. We'll make sure there's a legacy that'll pass on to the next generation as well.
How does that work? So for instance, let's say, boom, I'm doing this, right? I die at whatever, some age after 65, where, I've already paid.
This is an example. So let's say, I don't know what age somebody's going to die, but let's say you're 100 years old, okay? And if something were to happen at that point, so you have $13 million tax cash value. But what they do is they take that $13 million plus the $750,000 death benefit, which is $14 million, which added up to 14. That's what your family gets tax free.
Okay.
So they take the cash value plus the death benefit, and that's what your family will get.
And when you pull the cash value, is it something where I now have to pay that back, or is it like for instance, let's say a year before I turned 100, I decided to pull 12 million out. Do I actually have to make payments to pay that back, or is it like now we know that I have this money, and if I died, which I could just blow on whatever, and then if I die, my family.
Here's the thing: if there's no cash value in there anymore, you pull the whole thing. Right? There's nothing that's paying the insurance anymore, right? Because you have to remember what they're doing is, because the credit is so big.
Yeah, they're just compounding the interest.
They're compounding the interest, and then they're taking the cost of insurance from the cash value. But your credit is so big that it is way over whatever the cost is. I'll give you an example. Let's say I have 13 million, they credit me 10%. I'm getting $130,000 credit as an example. No, not $1.3 million credit. My cost of insurance is like, I'm just giving you an example, right? let's say my consideration is $2,000. I'm getting like $1.3 million. So it doesn't bother me at all. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I
like,
got you.
Because my credit is way higher. But if I take out the whole money, obviously, I don't have interest anymore.
There's no compound interest. Okay.
Yeah. Everything is gone.
No, but do you have to pay that money back though? Like, is it something
No. The policy will lapse. If I take with the whole 13 million and I'm not paying anymore, I don't have insurance anymore because
No, more along the lines of, okay, I take 13 million, whatever fixed rate that you have to pay. Because, okay, right here, the premium says 0. But is that to say that once I hit 65, I no longer have to pay anything?
You no longer have, exactly. So at this point, you no longer have no need to pay for insurance anymore. It's done. It's over.
Okay. So at 65, there's 1.9 for the cash value. If I pool the 1.9, there's still going to be 750,000 for family, but I don't have to pay.
No. You will now want to pull the 1.9, right?
No. I'm just hypotheticals. I just want to see how this.
No. I'm saying that if you do that, then there's no cash anymore. The policy is gone. It lapsed, what we call lapse, because I took out the whole cash value. So what I recommend my clients to do is, if you want to take out the money, you probably want to take out about 70%. If you want to take out everything, right? You probably want to take out 70%, leave 30% so it can maintain the policy. It's like when you have a car. If there's no gas in a car, like the policy cannot keep going.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Okay, because I was under, like, for instance, I was under the impression, and maybe I took this in incorrectly. So, like, okay, there's the cash surrender value, right? But then there's also death benefit value, which is off by like 750,000.
Exactly.
So if I took the cash value, if I decided to take, not that I would, but if I decided to take all of the cash value, there wouldn't still be the 750 in there that would include interest, or how would that work?
No, the 750 is a death benefit that will pay up to your beneficiary. So and you have to remember, the way they keep the death benefit going is because they're taking a portion of your cash value to pay for the death benefit. But if you remove the cash value and it's no more in there, they have no place to withdraw the payment when you're not paying anymore. Does that make sense? Because even though you're not paying anymore, they are still taking it from the cash value, but it's so minimal, like it doesn't really matter at that point because I'm getting a big credit based upon my balance. But if I take out the whole 2 million, there's no place for them to take out to maintain the insurance, because the insurance is not free, right? You have to pay for the insurance. So if I take the money out and I no longer make any payment, there's no insurance anymore. Does that make sense?
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So there's no reason for you as an individual. There's two options for someone at this point. Let's say somebody get to this point, they can say, you know what? I want to take 70, 80% of my cash, and I don't know what they're going to go do with it, whatever they want. Or I want to live off the interest, right? So if I say this is going to average 10%, I can live on $200,000 a year. And my 2 million will stay the same because I'm living off the interest, hypothetically. So there's two ways you can do it. You can do it as income, or you can do it as a lump sum.
Okay.
It's all dependent on you, how you want to do it at that point. There's no contract, there's no nothing. You do it however you want, right? But I'm saying, if you take out the whole cash, you forfeit the death benefit.
Okay.
Yeah. Which I would not recommend anybody to do that. Like, there's no reason.
No, I was just asking because, like, for instance, I've heard of trust where it's like similar to this, but in the aspect of, let's say if I were to take a loan out against it, the money wouldn't go down. It would stay the same. And then
you're talking about this is a different conversation.
Well, yeah, this is different. Yeah. Okay.
So I do that one for business. What you're talking about is called preferred loan.
Yeah.
So what we do is, but this one, they charge you interest rate on your loan. So I give you an example. Someone could have 2 million, for example. There's an option where you can do that. Some companies we have that does that. That I have 2 million, I take out 1 million. They still consider that I still have 2 million, but they charge me 4% on the loan. But the next time they're gonna credit, they will credit as if the million is still there, the 2 million is still there. So that's what preferred loan, right?
Okay.
I have that as well, right? So as a business owner, it's a that's what family banking, basically. That's what Family Bank, which is a huge tool, basically. But in terms of this is, I mean, at your age, I mean, this is like a must. I'm just letting you know. In terms of flexibility, opportunity, things like that, be able to learn from it, and different things you can do, and the guarantee. I mean, so many things that it makes sense to have it, because I don't want to have access to my money when I'm 60 years old. I'm sorry. This is not my plan. Okay. Like somebody that I have to wait till 59 and a half to not be penalized 10%. I'm not putting, it's like, if you have 20,000 or whatever somebody have, why would you be putting that 20,000 in jail? Like,
okay, quick question.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm looking at this, right? And I'm still not sold on it, just because, like, okay, like, remember what I said in the beginning, like, the premium for this is $20,000 a month, right? We can't guarantee what the interest rate's going to be, because the interest rate is going to follow the market, but your way on a more conservative basis. So we can't guarantee it, but we know that you'll never be in the mud. You'll never catch yourself outside in the mud, because you're guaranteeing that no matter what happens, there's
that's 7%. And I just show you the real return is almost 9%. But we don't show it that we go more conservative. I rather under promise, over deliver than to tell you you're gonna get 10, I'll show you at 10, and then you get 9 or you get 8.5. Like, that's what the numbers that I'm showing you, it's at 7% this week. 7.10%.
Okay, but so here's my question, right?
Yeah.
If I were to invest $350 starting at age 33, and I carried it $350 from age 33 to age 65, and then every year I became more conservative with my number. So let's say at age 33, I'd be investing it, trying to make back 8.7%, and then age 34. 8.6%. So then as time goes on, I'm slowly decreasing a lot of the risk, or at least trying to invest my money more conservative. If I did that from age 33 to 65, and I only invested every month $350, it should be about $2 million.
It's not, though. That's why
No,
that's why they want to make you believe. I'm just
these are numbers that I've crushed on my own. Like, these are correct.
No, you're crunching them, but I'm just telling you. You need to read. There's a book called Money Master the Game by Tony Robbins. There's 2% fees on every single mutual funds, every single. So you have to take into account all those things. I'm still speaking about, like, the Roth aspect of it. Let's say, because I mean, there's some, there are some funds out there nowadays, like the S&P. Okay, I keep going to the S&P 500, but like Fidelity 500, to where, like, the fee is like 0.04% or something. It's something like stupid low. Like I know, but it's hard for you to get what I'm saying, because it's like being an insider talking to somebody who's an outsider. What I'm trying to explain to you is this: what Fidelity is telling you, or Trust. The good thing about us, we have access to everybody. Okay, so I can see them. Everybody's naked for me. Okay, what they're telling you is not the reality of it.
Okay,
if they tell you, okay, this account we charge 0.60%, is not 0.60%. There's a lot of hidden fees. There's a lot of hidden fees in every single account. Every single account has hidden fees. There's something I want you to watch. I'll send it to Kalisha. She'll send it to you. It's called it's a 60-minute episodes. I don't know if you watched 60 Minutes before, but it's
I don't watch TV at all.
No. Me too. I don't, like 10 minutes. It's called The Truth About the 401k. And the guy that created the 401k was in that thing talking about it. Just watch that, and you understand everything that I'm talking about. What I'm telling you is, over time, the fees, they kill your retirement. It's not 0.65. Don't let those go fool you. That you really think that Fidelity, those guys, is gonna take everyone's money. They're gonna just show you 0.65. No, it's like 2, 3, something. It's a high percentage, but they have the right not to disclose all the fees that they have. They can only, sometimes it's called hidden fees. They don't have to disclose every fees to you. They don't.
No,
they don't give you the real fees.
Okay.
I'm saying my return might be 8, but after fees, not taking the taxes into account, anything like that, after fees, I might return 5%.
Okay.
It's just, this is react. So for me, I just look at the bottom line of things, because if you just plug in a number and say if you average 8.6 something percent is what you're gonna get, what I'm showing you is including the fees. It's including the exact fees of the insurance, the cost of insurance, the administration fees, everything is included in here.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I'm hearing you. All right.
Yeah. Because I'm gonna give you a really, really good website that you can go into. If somebody have like a mutual fund and things like that, it's called Bankrate, right? It's called bankrate.com. And basically with the Bankrate, somebody can go in Bankrate and plug any numbers they want. And then he's gonna tell them, oh, if you put this and that, but all those websites, they do not take into account the fees. They don't. So even if I come in here and say, you know what, let me see what a retirement account will do. And I go to a retirement calculator, right? And I plug in numbers. I say, okay, if I average 8%, if I do this, if I do that, what will happen? And he'll tell me what I'm gonna get. But all those websites, all those things, you put your age, what age would you retire? What your household income, how much of it you gonna put, right? And all those things, but none of it will calculate what the fee is going to be. None of it. None of it.
Okay.
Trust me, I've dived into those numbers like you won't believe.
I think Robert's trying to get in the meeting. He just got out of his other appointment. Can you see him?
No.
Oh, give me a second. Tell him to get it again. I thought it was somebody else. Tell him to try to. He's not there right now. Tell him again, trying to get it again. But that's the point. But I don't know. But based on your situation, that I'm trying to understand, like obviously what you're trying to do in terms of maximizing your dollars, getting a tax-free income, and also have access early. This is the account that I recommend. It's not even close.
Okay, I'm hearing you.
Yeah, it's not even close in terms of what the account will do moving forward. There's so many good things you can read about it, but the reality is, if somebody want to grow their money the correct way, long term, this is the way to do it. Let me even show you my one. I have 3 accounts like this. Let me show you one of them that I did to kind of give you an idea how this works. Let me see here. And the good thing with this account, there's no limit on how much you can do. You can do as many as you want. Make sure an example here. Okay. So this is an example right here of like the IUL. So this is a $500,000 protection right here. And remember when I say policy value is cash value. So policy value is 94,000 on this one. Surrender value is 84, which means what? My maximum available that I can access to via withdrawal is going to be about $83,000, $84,000.
I'm sorry. I got one more question.
Yeah.
Sorry. Can you pull up the chart of that shows once again, like what the numbers would be over time?
Yeah. There it is. Is that what you're looking for?
Oh, okay. No, I just wanted to make sure. Okay, so really quick, let's say if I wanted to do this, right? And yeah. Let's say if I have a set number in mind, like I want $1 million in coverage, right?
Yeah.
Is that something that I could just pay for? Because I didn't know that they had plans to where like as you're putting money in, the plan continues to grow. I was under the impression of finding something where it's like, okay, I want $1 million. Boom, this is how much $1 million is. I pay the $1 million, and yes, there may be cash value here and this and that, but I wasn't tracking anything along the lines of the death benefit continues to grow. So like in this instance, right? If I wanted $1 million, would I just have to make it until age about 43, 42 until the death benefits hit that amount, or is there a way that I could have that locked in?
No, you can have that from day one, right? I just got a $1.5 million policy, so I'll give you an example. I can go in here. Let me show you what I'm saying here. I can go in here and look at your situation and say, okay, I want 1 million.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I'm going to explain to you the numbers and how that work. So if I go get 1 million, obviously the number will change where from day one I have 1 million. Okay, mm-hmm. But the IRS set up something we call GAP, right? Guideline Annual Premium. So that means that this is the maximum I can put in the account per year based upon this. The higher this is, the more money I can put on it per year. There's no limit, right? But based on this account, your minimum is going to be somewhere. My minimum that I consider, because I understand how this account works, is the target. So that means that the person can put between $7,950 a year to $40,000 a year. And anything that goes inside the account will be tax-free.
Real quick, now the cash surrender value, did that just change?
No, it changed because I increased my death benefit.
So it's more now. So I'd have at age 65, I wouldn't have 2 million. I'd have more.
No, let's look. So at age 65, we are close to that. It doesn't change that much to the end. It changed more in the beginning. Does that make sense? It shows more in the beginning. So you can still get 1 million and pay the exact same 20,000.
Okay, so I have 1 million. I still have 1 million at the end. It's just I have more. The cash value will be higher earlier on, but it's still going to end at about 2 million.
Exactly. The reason I lowered in the beginning so it give you more cash surrender early. Does that make sense?
Okay, so here's the thing though. I'm paying the same amount, right?
Yeah.
At the end, I have the same cash value.
About the same.
The only thing that's changed is we've upped it, the death benefit amount. We've upped that. That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
And what you're showing me at the top is there's a maximum that you can put in the account, or was it a minimum that you have?
There's a maximum. There's a minimum, and some people will tell you this is the minimum. They'll tell you the required premium is the minimum, but I don't believe in that. Okay, and the reason I don't is because I don't want somebody paying the minimum premium, and then basically it's like driving your car on empty, right? So at least I have to give you at least I have to put you on a half tank, okay, to drive the car. So for me, in my estimation, the minimum is the target premium, right? Based upon this account. Every account is different. Based on the $1 million for a 32-year-old, the IRS say the maximum you can put in is $40,000.
Okay, real quick. So now these required premiums, this is just the minimum that I have to put in the account every year to keep the account open. Is that what that is?
Keep it going, basically. Yeah, that's what they tell.
Okay. Yeah. So if something happened, let's say, boom, I'm telling you, I'm going to put 20,000 a year. But if something happened to where, for some reason, I decided not to do that.
Yeah, go down. Exactly.
10, yeah. I could still put that and then deal. But of course, the death benefit would change. The amount would change. The cash surrender amount, that would also change.
The death benefit will not change. The death benefit will not change.
It would stay the same.
You always have the 1 million, no matter what.
Okay, so but the growth on it, of course, because
the growth,
the interest.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so I'd still have the million. It wouldn't, at the time of my death, it wouldn't be maximized. Okay.
Exactly. Because remember how this works. So you have $1 million, let's say year 6. If something were to happen, they're going to give your family the 1 million plus the 125,417. That's why you see here is 1 million, 1.25 million now. You see that? Mm-hmm. If something happened, to give you both, which is where this kills the whole life. Because the whole life, if something happened, you just get the death benefit. It's called level death benefit. If someone have a whole life insurance policy, the death benefit is $1 million, and their cash value, for example, is, let's say, 500,000. How much do you think they'll get in a whole life if they passed away? The death benefit is 1 million. The cash value is 500,000. They passed away. How much money do you think they'll get in a whole life?
Just the 1 million.
That's the 1 million. But
Yeah,
in
they
this
will get
account,
the cash.
in this account, they get both. It's called increasing death benefit. They get the 1 million plus the $500,000 cash value, 100% tax free.
Oh, okay. I didn't see that.
That's the difference. That's the difference.
Okay, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
And this is just based off everything that we've discussed so far today, right?
Yeah.
Remember what I said. For me, my game plan has always been to go Roth. I would prefer to just pay the taxes right now rather than to pay it later, just because I don't know what taxes will be later. So let's just deal with that right now and get it out the way. Okay. From the numbers that I told you earlier, looking at this right here at age 65, you end up with 2 million, but you've been putting in 20 million. I'm sorry, not 20 million, 20,000 a year to get to that point. Now, from what I told you earlier, $700 doing the same thing in a Roth, in a 401k, that's a Roth, you could get there, because that's really the only way that, because in the IRA, there's like the limit is like 6,000 or something of that nature. So you wouldn't be able to go above that. And if you did the 700 a month, it would come out to what? 8,400. Now, I also understand what you said before, where there may be hidden fees that you're not accounting for. So you may think that, okay, I'm starting off at 8.7%, but you're really not getting that 8.7%. It could be potentially 5%. But let's say, even if I were to take those numbers, right? The 7,000 and the 700 that I'm putting in, and I was to double it to 1,400. Okay. So the fees are still coming out, and I would be making the assumption that, well, I would have made the assumption that, okay, instead of having 2 million at 65, I've had 4, but I still understand, and I haven't done my due diligence yet to go and take a look at, Khaleesi hasn't sent me the information yet for me to look at the fees and learn more about that. So I'm taking your word on it that, okay, there are hidden fees that I just don't know, right? That I'm just not.
Not just the hidden fees. I don't want to talk you up, but that's just the hidden fees is what interest rate or return are you using?
True.
I can come here and say, Andre, let me show you what this does, and I put 12%.
No,
you have 4 million, and I can show you 4 million. But it's not reality, right?
No. I understand
what return are they using to show you're gonna have $2 million at $700? Because anybody can make up a return and say, yes, you're gonna get this, but
no. These are numbers like I said, these are the numbers that I'm using, just crunching over time, and I feel conservative with them because, granted, people will tell you, oh, the S&P 500 will bring in 10%, but I started at 8.7% to get to 65, and every year I decrease the percentage. So really, it's just getting less and less and less to get to that.
But if you do that on the front end, it's gonna look good.
No, but here's my question though.
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying with, I can't really go that route because there are fees. When I crunch my numbers, there are fees that I'm just not taking into account. And I understand that aspect, right? But I based it off of $700 a month to get to 2 million. But if I were to double that and say, oh, okay, I'm going to pay $1,400, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to pay $1,400 a month. And in that avenue, I'm showing 4 million at that point, but we'll say that let's say we chop it in half, just because I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't do my due diligence to learn about the hidden fees and things of that nature. But if I did that, it would still be about 2 million. But in a year, I would have spent 16,800. But going this plan, I would have spent 20,000. So in the long run, it's looking as if, okay, with this plan, I'm getting more of a guarantee. But with the other plan, I now feel that the other plan is extremely conservative because, well, for one, I put more money in. I was already going conservative, but I even cut those numbers in half and put it in a Roth.
Right.
So now, if I presented these two scenarios to you, and I think I've covered most of the things that we went over, but understanding both of these scenarios, why would you still say that I should go this route? And if so, why?
Good question. Again, I will say it again. I will still go that route. Because here's the problem. The way that you think the fee affect you thinking it in terms of, okay, if it's 1% or 2%, it's not going to be that bad, but it is very bad. Long term, looking at millions of dollars. Like, that's why I say you have a good book to read is called Money Master. It's a big book, but it's called Money Master the Game. 1 or 2% on your account over time is millions of dollars. It's not like because 1 2% is going to be like 100,000. No, it's millions of dollars.
No, but you get what I did. What I did in the scenario that I presented, I took the numbers, right? I cut them in half.
No. But
the interest.
You're using the interest. I'm not talking about the interest. The fee goes to the balance.
Okay.
So if I have $1 million and they charge me 2%, then that 2% is every year as my balance is growing. It's not off the interest.
Okay. I think I get what you're saying. Okay.
Like if it's not like you say, I'm getting an 8% return, they charge me 2%, now my return is 6%. It doesn't work that way, right? The fee come out of the balance that you have. So the bigger the balance, the more they take out of it. So if they take money out of your account, whether you gain or you lose, long term, you're going to lose millions of dollars, period. It's just the way it works.
No, I get that part, but like, okay, for instance, let's say if I had the money invested, right?
Yeah.
And they're going to take out 2%
of the balance.
Yeah. But then off the balance that year, you could have made 10%. Are you with me? Because I feel like it's good and it's bad because, okay, like the scenario that you showed us, it's a safer route because you'll never go into the negatives with what you showed me. You're not going to go into the negatives.
Exactly. That's
you make points. Yeah. On your worst year, you will make 0.75%, right? But then it's also capped where the best that you could do is 15%.
Yeah.
Right? So granted, let's say if they're taking 2% off, right? Well, I guess I'm just a little, I need to look at it.
That's what I'm saying. When you're in this, like you're looking at it in a way that's not the reality of what's happening. You're thinking in terms of percentage. Okay, if it's 1 or 2, no big deal. If I lost 5%, it's one thing I want to show you. If you lose a percentage return, it hurts you more if they're charging you your balance.
No, I think
is that making any sense?
No, I understand. I understand what you're saying, but like the way that I was looking at it was like, okay, for instance, if I have money in the bank, right? If I have money invested, granted, okay, they'll charge me 2% on the money that I have invested, but then I could have gained 10% on that money invested just by having it in the market. So it's like the real rate that I'm receiving, it may not be 10%, but it'll be 8%, which I understand that. But the market is volatile. I don't know what it would be. So it could be something where, let's say there could be there's been years where we've done 20%. So then in that year that we did 20%, they would still charge me 2%, but I made 20%. So really I made 18%. But then it's like going that route. If I went with you, I would have only made 15%. Because I understand being conservative because it makes sense, but I also believe
No, it's not conservative though. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. You in the real world, not on a spreadsheet. In the real world, you end up doing better. Like anytime you're in a situation where there's opportunity you can lose, even if the average says 0, just like I just told you, you end up losing money. Like I don't think if you gain 10% and you lost 10%, you didn't break even. You lost money. Mm-hmm. Just like I just used the example. That's why when you really dive into the real number, that's why I don't do those accounts. Like you dive into exactly what happened, you see that you're not conservative at all. You end up being better. And it's another thing I want to tell you about conservative. In 2008, everybody that was conservative lost 40% of their money. Mm-hmm. The conservative thing is a fallacy. You know what conservative does? It gives you a lower return. But when it comes to making more money, when it comes to not losing, you end up, everybody lost. Whether you're conservative, Democrat, or Republican, doesn't like whatever you are.
No.
You lose money.
By conservative, I meant your organization is more conservative because it doesn't seem like you're losing money. Every year you're destined to gain something. But then I also feel like, okay, when you're in your youth, because you're only young once in your life, you know what I mean? So I've always felt like during your youth, you should be more aggressive because, scared money isn't going to make any money. That's just something that
No,
I've
but
always...
this is not conservative in the way that you say it. This is more protective than it is conservative. It's not conservative saying that you're not making money.
No, okay.
That you can't lose. Because like I was telling you, the reality is when you dive into the numbers, the other one has a better return. It just doesn't, like the company cannot come and put a number on here if it's not true. Like they can't say, you know what, those are real, like I want you to go and check those numbers yourself. Those are year by year numbers of what this account has done. So if I go, this is real numbers right here. If I go right now, this is an actual illustration, and I see, okay, in a 25-year span, what is the lowest the real S&P, not this account, this the S&P has ever done? 5.06%. That's not counting the fees. This is just talking about return, okay? But the maximum they've done is 9.85%. Okay? In a 25-year compounding average. But with that strategy that you say is conservative, in a 25-year span, the minimum has been 8%. The illustration I just showed you is at 7.10%. I'm even lower than the minimum they've ever done in their entire life in a 25-year span. The maximum they've done it this is real, in a 25-year span is 10.7. This is the global index. Now, if we look at it, we say, okay, how that's going to look like in terms of return? Let's forget about the 20-year one, right? Let's say I'm looking at the average return at 25-year span is 6.32 on the weighted average. It was 8.95 here. The average return was 5.14 in the 20-year span. It was 8.92. The average return in the 15-year span was 4.77. Right here, it's 8.43. The average 10-year, 9.59 versus 9.48. This is like exact numbers year to year, like in different span, what the account has done. Okay. So when you say conservative, it's not conservative in terms of like I have some type of CDs that are making 2%. You're making more than them. It just, I'm not participating in those losses. They took out that because if you're going down, you're no longer compounding. Compounding is when the money can stay there and you keep compounding on it. But when you start losing, you're not compounding anymore. You're going backward and you're going forward, basically.
Okay, I'm with you.
Yeah. So like I was saying, in your situation, which I was literally like 30 years old when I did my first IUL, long term for you, if you max fund an account like that, and I know you don't care about dying and things like that right now, but long term, you're gonna end up better with taxes, with market return, with market protection, and all those things. There's gonna be at least 2 or 3 market correction by the time you reach that retirement age. This is a guarantee. There's no market that just go up, never come down.
No, I'm with you. Okay, I get what you're saying.
Yeah. So for you, this is the good news for you, right? Because the account gives you the ability to fluctuate and be flexible with your contribution. So you can do that anywhere from the 7,000 all the way to 40,000, however you want to do it. So if you tell me, Sam, there was a year I can put that 20,000 or whatever it is, you can come down and still have your $1 million protection. And when you get back to normal, you can increase it again. So it's a very flexible account. And obviously you have to qualify and all those things and you qualify.
Butt, please.
But after that, then you start with what you can.
Okay, 1 second. 3,000.
Let's get some. See if he'll eat it.
Okay, really, one more time. Sorry, I just want to make sure. So, account is super flexible. I could still keep the $1 million. You have the 20 in there because that's what I said that I would invest. But the reality is the required amount that you have to put in is only 3,980 in a year.
Yeah.
To have this plan here where you have the the 1 million.
Yeah, and let me even show you what the target does, which is 7,950. Let's say you don't put 20,000, which is the last thing I will show you because I have to do a quick training here. I see the people waiting here. But let's say somebody say, you know what, I'm not gonna do the 20,000. Let's say to start. Maybe I'll just do the target. Okay, so you just start at target. You have 1 million, you just put in the target. Here's the good news. Even if you do that, like you put the 7,950, at this point, you have what? First year retirement, you have 700,000, 660,000.
Mm-hmm.
This is not 20,000. So you're gonna have 1 million the entire time. You're gonna have $1 million, right? Obviously, your surrender value is not gonna be fast, right? Because we're trying to put basically the minimum. But by the end of the process, you put in 262, and that's gonna go to about 663,000. You're not gonna pay anymore. The policy will go.
He's wiping ranch on the couch.
Okay. Yeah, I see it.
Yeah. So it's very flexible. So if you get approved, preferred, and your health is good, then you just start with something lower. Basically. And even in your situation, here's another thing I recommend you do. Put 10,000 in Roth 401k, put 10,000 here. You can start like that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then over time, if you have to lower it to 9,950, or you can up it to 20,000. I mean, you can do whatever you want, man. It's flexible. But you still have that 1 million that you always wanted.
Okay, I'm tracking what you're saying.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, and I really have to jump out here. So based on your situation, which one do you think will make the most sense to you? Do you see yourself? Obviously, we have to we can put in an application and see when you get approved, and we can play it with the numbers however we want to, okay? But based on where you're at, do you see yourself starting with the 7,000, or do you see yourself doing the 20,000?
I mean, to be honest with you, before, because I'm kind of I like to go all in on what I know to be correct.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like,
but you can start and then you do that over time, right? You don't have to necessarily go full on board like the whole right away.
I guess what I'm trying to say is like, okay, for instance, for me, before I do anything, I would have to crunch numbers, right? Okay, and then the thing is, once I crunch the numbers and it's like, okay, this one is better, it kind of makes no sense to do the, you know what I mean? Like if I crunch the numbers and saw that this is better, I got to put my all into this because why wouldn't I? I'm losing money by not putting money here at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like wherever I decide to go, I would always put at least the 20,000. Well, right now, I'd for sure put at least 20,000 in, but I just first have to run the numbers to see which one makes more sense. Okay,
here's what I'm gonna do because what I'm gonna go ahead and do is I'm going to send you. I guess I'll send it to Kalisha. Or I don't know who I'll send it to. If you can even send me a text or anything, I'll send you all the numbers, and I'll send you the how do you call that, the illustration. And you look at it, and we set up a follow up, and we kind of go from there. Basically.
All right, perfect. Can you send me the thing? Like I remember you were saying something where there are with the hitting fees where there was.
Yes. Let me actually send you. Let me put that in the chat room. Those people are gonna start yelling at me. Let me take them out here.
You can send that to Kalisha as well, and just have her send that to me. I know if you got.
Yeah. Let me do that now because I might forget, man. Let me do that now so I don't get sidetracked. Okay. Hold on.
Do you have to do that right here in the middle of my meeting?
I just sent you the link here.
Can you really change the world by investing? Absolutely.
Let me know if you're getting
with socially responsible investing by Betterment. You can be right for your plan.
Okay.